Yeah, Elon Miller, I would agree. And I actually think the reference thing, especially if they don't have a letter attached, because, not that they would, but somebody could put somebody down as a reference, which there was impressive references, but there wasn't a letter. So, I think encouraging applicants, if they're going to have a reference, that they should get a letter. And if they don't, we should probably reach out just to validate.
Well, all right. I guess we'll move on to board business now. So, well, I guess we'll start with the ODA program area reports.
And this is just an opportunity for board members. If you have questions, we submit the board report ahead of time, or the program reports ahead of time. We kind of hit those highlights of what's going on in the respective program areas. If you have questions, this is just an opportunity to ask those questions. But if you don't, that's okay too.
Barbara Boyer. I don't have any questions or comments. I just really appreciate the time staff puts into writing these. I read them, and I really appreciate all their hard work.
Yeah, Elon Miller, yes, I continue to be impressed with what I read, and I did have just a question. I think we might have gotten it answered yesterday, but the lab services that OLC we're assisting with OLCC, is that truly only pesticide analysis on cannabis, or is it also components of cannabis analysis too? Yeah, so that's on page 2, lab services, about the middle of the, am I in the wrong place? Okay. Yeah, third paragraph, yeah.
Lauren Henderson, Deputy Director. I'm sorry, I just walked in, so let me make sure I'm on the right page. Are you discussing the reference lab?
Yes, so it's OLCC, basically testing protocols, because obviously there's more need for components of cannabis testing, but my assumption is what we're doing is only pesticide, but even if it is, and we're being, we obviously have great lab analysis capabilities, so that was the question.
Yeah, so we've been in quite a few discussions with OLCC. As you can imagine, we're kind of connected at the hip on all things cannabis, and have been from the very beginning. The legislature has put in place rules that OLCC needs to put in place that then we adopt and follow. Part of that has been the testing, and OLCC does not have a lab. And so
Any kind.
And so they were faced with, we put in resources to build another state lab. And so Director Marks and I have known Director Marks for a very long time, discussed, and he said, well, could your lab help do some of this testing beyond the pesticide? And the answer was yes. And that came on the heels of the vaping issues that the state was having so many problems with. And so they have reached out, and we have worked with them to identify some things that we could do on a limited basis in the space that we have in Portland. That's what this discussion is. Part of that, though, is our lab needed to get a DEA license, which you think wouldn't be hard, but it has been super hard. And the reason why it's been super hard is because our lab not only tests recreational marijuana, but hemp. And the system wasn't set up to have those things in the same place. I think we're getting past that. This effort is also our way of getting a head start on the other program option package, where OLCC is going to transfer about $2.5 million to our lab to actually set up what we're calling a reference lab. And this is the beginning of that. What you see here is to try to figure out what methodologies need to happen. The goal, assuming the legislature and the governor's office approves of it, and the money, is to actually have our lab be the state primary reference lab for not only market basket testing, so going out in the market, buying products and just seeing what's there to some degree, with some boundaries, of course, and then a way to help QA the private labs. so that they're actually able to stand up and say, you know, we were able to have a third party check this. There's a lot to do in what I just said, but this is the beginning of that work to try to figure out what would it look like to do those testing. The last thing we want to do is have another crisis, a vaping crisis, and not have tools to be able to address this within our state.
And if I may, I think not to have the tools in a crisis situation, especially as we do presumptive stuff and all in the whole cannabis issue, but also not a duplication of effort. So I really applaud ODA working with OLCC and, you know, hey, you guys, you know, ODA knows this stuff. And so to be able to do that and go where the expertise is, that's great. And OLCC being able to help fund that is obviously critical. So.
And I will just add to that, because there are private labs that OLCC has used. It's not a struggle. The issue with that is at times they really need that regulatory component of that, particularly when things
Yes.
have to go to court.
Yes.
And so that's where this comes in our lab. And I don't want to overpromise our lab. We just knew we could be a resource. It did not make sense to be redundant and build another state lab. And so we were all, I kind of thought as that third party, because the Oregon Health Authority, you know, they have a lab, but it's related to people, right? And then DEQ does some water testing, and that we're using all of those tools the best we can. But I think the thought is, and what OLCC would like to pay for out of their revenue and their tax or their licensure, is that reference component.
And again, just not to belabor the point, but to make sure it's built right the first time and the funding from OLCC appropriately will cover the infrastructure needed, because we're going to be in this for a long haul. So anyway, appreciate that.
And Jonathan just mentioned to me, this is all connected. That's why North Valley is so important. We have designed North Valley with cannabis and capacity, not just cannabis, but surge capacity. We have room in that facility through the shared space that if something came up, you know, I think of the cyanotoxins that were in the Salem water where we all kind of needed that facility is built so that the state, not just ODA, could pivot that space into a triage space if it needed to be that way. And it's going to be that resiliency. I'm really excited about that building, and I don't want to get too excited because all those things aren't connected yet, and hopefully they will be.
Well, that's an excellent connection, and why we all need to be very supportive of that going forward. And I think about surge capacity, and when we were having the smoke issues in wine grapes, I called the director and is like, gee, can we do this? Maybe not. And then we got extra funding for OSU for analytical capacity as far as equipment and all of that to be able to help. But I remember down actually asking California for assistance there too, and they were able to divert some of their residue analysis, pesticide residue analysis, to some of that smoke testing too. So I think, again, this lab could end up being a real answer to lots of things now that the analysis capabilities have become more mature, I guess. So anyway, I'll stop there.
No, you've brought up an important issue, and I just can't help myself, so I'll put a period on this way. Laboratory structures in our state take a significant state investment. You cannot run them on fees. It just does not work. You need, it cost, when I worked at the state hospital, I'm sorry for this analogy, but I was the procurement director, and I used to tell people it takes me just as much effort to order 10 cases of toilet paper as 5 semis. This is a little bit that same way. It costs $1 million just to call yourself a lab, frankly. And the last thing you want in surge is to worry about, we don't have enough cash to pay for it. And so that's why the rent component and the general fund to support the infrastructure and then the equipment redundancy is so important. And then for things like the testing and the sampling, those costs can be calculated, and if OSSC is paying that, or the programs that are fee for service can pay for that piece. They cannot pay for the large investment that you need to call yourself a lab.
Thank you.
Miguel Lopez. So, Lauren, you had said that you guys have had some struggles with acquiring a DEA license. What's been the process of that?
Chair Harper and Miguel, the best way I can say that is it's government regulations. It's just hard. You have to do it. The facility has to meet certain requirements. The biggest issue, though, has been the fact that our lab can have recreational marijuana and hemp in the same space. The Farm Bill right now requires that hemp be tested and that the labs be certified by DEA. We have none in Oregon today. I can't even get our lab to that spot because of that dual component. We'll get past it. And I don't know where we're at today. I should have asked. Maybe we already have the DEI license and we were able to get it because I haven't asked for a while. But we'll get it and be there and be all legal there. I think it comes with some security, right? You want to make sure and all those. And the North Valley complex is built with all of those security, the cameras, the control mechanisms, and that's been an issue. We have controlled mechanisms at the FIC, but it's not optimal. But I'll get an update on that for everybody, and then we'll talk about that. And we'll be able to talk about that on the, hopefully, the tour in North Valley, and we'll have our lab managers on that tour, so you can ask them any question you want.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments on the area reports? Chad or Dean Simonich?
Yeah, I don't have any.
None for me.
Well, all right. I guess we'll move on to our OWEB report from Barbara.
Thank you, Chair Harper, Barbara Boyer. So we had our first OWEB meeting, or in-person meeting, in Joseph and in Enterprise. We were July 25th through July 27th. It was also very hot there, so it was very hot. And we toured the Wallowa Dam project. They're going to be raising that dam, which is going to help irrigation district. It's actually, and I'm sorry, I can't remember, Courtney from yesterday, from the governor's office, from Regional Solutions. She gave a good background of what that project was like. But my takeaway was that collaboration. They've actually been together as a group for 9 years, and they did not depart. Like, they stayed together and worked this through, and that was really impressing me, that the dedication of them to get this project through. They're still $8 million short. So they're still looking for that $8 million to get that project going. But it was a great tour. We also awarded, oh my gosh, I think it was $13 million. It's always fun to give out money at OWEB. And they were capacity grants. So that was a lot of debate. We also gave out focused investment, FIPs. And we're in some growing pains right now at OWEB, as this was the end of the first FIP cycle, which is a 6-year cycle for the FIP program. And we really had a robust conversation about how come the ones that after 6 years didn't get funded, they didn't go above the funding line, and they still want to continue. So we're having this debate on what does renewals look like, because this is the first time we've had the end of the cycle of 6 years. So we're still trying to figure that out. We think we might pool some money in for renewals and then new for ones for new.
Can you explain what the
Focused investment partnerships? Oh, there's 30 grant offerings at OWEB, so I don't have them all committed to memory. And we're looking at that also. That's a lot of offerings, grant offerings. But it's a watershed project, so it's large projects. That's why it's 6 years. But they have to come to us every 2 years with an update to receive the funding for the next biennium. But they're large. They're fish passage, lots of wetland restorations, just really on large scales. What else? We actually, for the first time ever, OWEB has received general fund in the last long session. They've always received lottery funds. So that was exciting for OWEB, but it also came with a lot of extra work. And now the special session, they gave OWEB more general fund, and it's nice to have general fund because there's not as many strings attached through Measure 76, like the lottery funds. So it's they're looking to OWEB a lot as a grantee. And hearing from our new executive director, Lisa Hansen, a third of the staff at OWEB is limited duration. And it's hard. That's a hard pill for her to swallow. So she's working really hard to make sure that we can get permanent employees. What else do I want to report? And then we went to one of our, I'm the co-chair of the OWEB board. So my co-chair, Eliza McAllister, had us to her ranch for lunch, and we got to tour some of her conservation projects. And again, it was very hot. So, pardon me? When was that? When? And Joseph and Enterprise. So, and I think that is all. We're going to be at the coast and next meeting in September or October. October, it will be in Tillamook. So if anybody's got any questions for me, let me know. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Barbara on the OWEB report? Dean Simonich or Chad?
Yeah, I don't have any.
Me either.
All right. Well, thank you, Barbara. Now we'll move on to resolutions. And we have work group A and B, and I guess we'll start with work group A.
Okay, Elin Miller, and please fellow members of work group A chime in here as well. But you received from Carla last night the recommendations going forward to move forward for full board approval. Resolution 107 first, and really the amendments that you guys had seen in advance were, I'll say, creating more verbiage around urgency for the water issue, and also more emphasis on utilization of conservation programs. So that was more in the background. We didn't change the resolution in any way. But I don't know if there's anybody want to add, Louisa, or add anything to this, but I would move approval of resolution 107 as amended for the board.
Barbara Boyer seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on resolution 107. Is there any discussion?
Any questions?
Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of moving resolution 107 as amended, say aye.
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 Thank you, Chad. All right, motion passes.
All right, so the second one is conservation plan for Oregon Coast Coho, resolution 281. And the discussion we had last time, and we put this over, was to make more current the review, and I think staff did a great job on making sure that was more current. You all saw the amendments that came early on there. And again, as the committee deliberated on these amendments, we would like to have the full board approve. And so I would move to put on the table, moving forward on resolution 281 as amended in the packet.
Randy Savati, second.
And I don't know if any other members of, Louisa, do you want to add anything to it?
No, we already say that we have reviewed several times, it's amended, and we needed some background, and I think we agreed that it's ready.
Good.
Okay, well, we have a motion to approve resolution 281 with the amendments and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving resolution 281 as amended, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes.
Great. And the last one, as we understand it, there was quite a bit of discussion in the past when this first was put into place in, I believe it was 2019. And so we want to hold this open further. We want to have, we're going to call a special workshop in September, I think is where we decided. And we still needed to check with Chad to make sure that he was going to be available when the rest of us could be available. But I think we've received comments of, gee, from one side earlier on, it probably needs no change. Then we've received comments that it does need some changes. But then in light of the climate smart focus, I think we can be looking at climate smart and look at some language that we've used there. And again, we'll take some time to dig in and come back to our November meeting with in advance so you guys can review it and the public can comment on it. Any proposed changes that the work group might have. So that's that report.
Thank you, Elin. So we'll move on to work group B.
Randy Savati for Work Group B. First one we talk about is Resolution 307, Farm Worker Housing. The work group spent a lot of time going back and reviewing the panel that we had at our last board meeting, also comments that were made. Talked a lot about kind of what we needed to update. We worked with Jess in the meeting, going through adding some comments about the different tax credits, how the tax credits handled, some different recommendations there. We also talked about updating the data. The numbers that were in there seemed to be outdated, going through and updating those. And also adding in some discussion on how to better market the program, or how to get this program out there to operations that can benefit from it. So notes were taken. Right now that is currently tabled still. We will review it at our next board meeting, hopefully with the updates ready for you guys next time. Moving on to Resolution 317, Oregon Department of Agriculture's role in the FSMA produce rule. This one is the continuing conversation. I think we've all heard from the ODA staff quite a bit. They were at our work group again. We had great discussion. Right now, we still want to table this. They are still going through the listening groups. There is 2 more, as Susanna kind of said. So we would like them to continue to have those listening groups before we make a rule on this, or excuse me, a decision on this one. One thing to point out is we do want to make sure we make a decision by next board meeting, because if we do choose to do something different from what we're doing, that has to be completed by March. So we want to give the ODA staff plenty of time to put together what they need to put together. So again, that one is tabled, but have committed to making that decision by next board meeting. Resolution 318, energy transmission and general facility generation facilities on agricultural lands. We went through and edited that last time. Those review, I believe you got in your packet the deletions and additions that we made to that. Those all looked good to the work group, and would like to move to approve the corrections and additions as noted.
Second.
All right.
Miller.
We have a motion to approve Resolution 318 as amended. Any further discussion? And a second, sorry. Well, hearing none, all those in favor of moving to approve Resolution 318, say aye.
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 So Chair Harper, before we move on to the next agenda item, one thing we did learn in our subcommittee, our work group B, is there is, in reference to Resolution 318, there is 22,213 acres proposed solar sightings or solar arrays projects in Umatilla and Morrow County, and some of it's irrigated agriculture land. So it's here. That's a lot. It's 37 square miles. That's a lot. So I just wanted you guys to be informed of that.
That hasn't been approved.
In the hopper.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on here to nominating committee report. Time to select our next chair and vice chair. The two candidates this year were Louisa and Shantae. Shantae, are you on? No, she's not. Unfortunately. But so Louisa has accepted the position as chair, and Shantae has accepted the position as vice chair. Yeah. So, yeah. So we do need a vote on it. So I'd like to entertain a motion.
Do we do them both at the same time? Okay, I move approval of Louisa as chair and Shantae as vice chair of the board. Elon Miller, for the record.
Randy Savati, second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve Louisa as chair and Shantae Johnson as vice chair. Any further discussion?
I will say thank you, and it's an honor.
We got to vote first.
Yeah. All those in all those in favor of Louisa as chair and Shantae as vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Congratulations, Louisa. All right.
And Chairman Harper, you have one more meeting to chair, or is this it?
No, this is it.
Wow, we need to thank you. You've done a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, two virtual and two in person.
Yeah, the hybrids, it's fun.
The whole head of the table there is changing, so thank you to both. Yes.
Well, it's been an honor. Dean Simonich? Question or
I
comment?
just also wanted to convey my thanks and looking forward, hopefully, to continuing to work with you.
Absolutely. You're welcome and thank you. All right. We'll move on to Board of Ag representative to DEQ and EQC.
Yeah, so in the past, and I think it's kind of fallen off once Stephanie Hallett came off, she was the ODA's representative, the Board of Ag's representative to the EQC, and the EQC at the time had a representative to the Board of Ag. That, as we've had transition on both of our boards, has kind of fallen by the wayside. Director Whitman and I had a conversation. Is this something we wanted to continue? We think there's still value, in particular with all of the transition that will be coming up at our respective agencies, within the governor's office, within the legislature, and strengthening those ties, because we do a lot of work together agency to agency, and having our boards and commissions connected, I think, is important. It has worked, I think, different ways. Sometimes I think in the past, in particular with virtual, the representatives would join part of the meeting. Sometimes they would just have a conversation in between respective board and commission meetings. So I think once we get individuals who might be interested, and if someone's not interested to kind of put you want to think about it or put your name forward today, we can do that and bring that conversation back. But I think once we each have individual identified, we could then figure out what we really want from a board and commission connection going forward. So that's kind of the conversation that Richard and I had.
Miguel Lopez. So, Director Taylor, what is EQC?
Great question. It is the Environmental Quality Commission, which is basically DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality's, their commission. They function differently than the Board of Agriculture. So the EQC actually hires the director at DEQ, whereas I am directly appointed at ODA. The ODA director is directly appointed by the governor. I, as the director, have rulemaking authority for ODA, but at EQC and DEQ, the Environmental Quality Commission has the rulemaking authority that does not reside with the director. So it functions differently than the Board of Ag, but it is the same type of body.
Okay.
Director Taylor, do we have an idea of time commitment? Again, you're saying we'll see who might be interested and then we'll talk about what it is, but also it could be a time commitment question.
Yeah, that's a great question. If it could be, an hour conversation in between board and commission meetings. It could be some time to join the commission meeting. I would not envision a Board of Ag member or an EQC member joining the full Board of Ag meeting or commission meeting, but perhaps it's on just the topics where we intersect. So when we're talking about water quality and there's a component to ag water quality, when they're talking about their climate rules and how that might intersect with agriculture. And so I wouldn't say the full 3-day meeting, but I think just strengthening. So it could be a combination of both, but I think part of it will be identifying the new individuals and figuring out what makes the most sense and what the board wants as a connection and what the EQC wants as a connection. That doesn't help them.
And is this ex officio?
Well, it's not a formal representative necessarily. You would just join
Advisory.
yeah, just a liaison, I would call it.
Liaison.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to give you a little background, first of all, I'm not putting my name in for this one. Thank you. Although Jonathan would like me to. Just to give you an example of how we intersect, we had our Soil and Water Conservation Commission meeting Monday and Tuesday of this week, and there is a new MOA being reviewed right now between DEQ and ODA with ag water quality. It will be going open. It's going out to the public to review, which is the first time that's happened, sometime next week. We as a commission have not seen it yet, so we're going to be looking at it closely because it does affect soil and water. It has some aspect of soil and water conservation districts in there in the work that we do for ODA and ag water quality.
And remember, we gave you a brief presentation at the last board meeting, and we will be bringing it for additional comments. Well, the final draft for additional comments at the next board meeting. So you will see it in its form and have the opportunity to provide feedback.
Miguel Lopez, Director Taylor. So as I recall, there's a boundary, pardon my ignorance, to DEQ's perimeter. It's mainly Portland Metro. Is that still hold true? Am I remembering that incorrectly? Okay.
Lynn Miller, although someone who's sitting in the audience might kill me, I'd be interested in exploring the possibility. But again, it's the time commitment and the when and those kind of things. So.
Absolutely. So let us get a little bit more information and connect with DEQ, and then have maybe a conversation offline with you, Elin. I do envision with everything being virtual, not the option not having to have to travel, but being able to join some of those components virtually as well, which I think will hopefully help lessen, right, not having to drive to every meeting. But we can, let's figure out with DEQ a little bit more information, then we can chat. Thank you. And see if it might work for you. Thank you.
Well, okay, so I guess we're on to newsletter topics. And thank you, Elin, for willing to put your name in there. So, yeah, I guess what stood out to everybody this meeting be worth sharing.
I love the story about utilizing, the incarcerated folks, and I had no idea, and that is just so cool. So I would suggest we have that in the newsletter. Elin Miller for the record.
Barbara Boyer for the record. I would like us to have some words of thanks to Director Taylor in our newsletter. So I guess with that, I'll just say thank you. Sad you're going, but yeah, I would like some words in there, please. Thanks. And I think the Food Safety Modernization Act, I mean, that's an ongoing issue.
Yeah, Randy Savati, do we also want to add in something about the applications, the 22,000 acres of the
solar?
Yeah.
So we usually will include a section about the resolution work that has passed.
Okay.
And so I think with that, so with the solar sighting one
tidbit too.
passing, being updated and passing, we will highlight, and then we could even mention some of what we're seeing as a, like, not justification, but that as explanatory notes perhaps, so.
Yeah, okay. Just, yeah, that topic's kind of, as Jim said, kind of blown up since we last talked.
Miguel Lopez for the record. So just having visited the Oahe Dam and realizing how important it is to our agricultural land use out here, I was just like blown away by it. I was like, I was humbled and yet reminded of how important that right there is. I would say that would be a good one to just highlight in case everybody, again, Eastern Oregon, we kind of like come here very little. So it's one of those things I'd like to highlight.
Southern Oregon would appreciate it as well.
Rating somebody again. And maybe we can just do kind of an Eastern Oregon highlight too as well. Include the grasshopper and Mormon cricket. I think that's really important that we get that in there because it is a problem for us over here. And so we can really highlight that as well. That'd be great.
It was a meaty agenda. I think we're just going to touch everything.
Yeah.
Carlo, just copy the agenda. You're good.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good.
Now the fun part.
Yes, the fun part.
Where do we want to go?
23 meeting dates and locations.
It's
Section tab 12.
Tab 12. Last page, tab 12. I have it here.
So in your packet, you have a memo that has proposed dates for each quarter of next year. Those were just dates. They're usually, we do the Tuesday evening work groups, Wednesday, half day on Thursday. So that's what those dates represent. And the locations, typically the first two quarters, because of the legislative session, we stick around Salem. I think the second quarter, we've, ventured to Silverton or, a little outside of Salem. It just kind of is depending on how session goes, but I think we typically try to stay in that Salem area. Also on the bottom of that sheet were some 2023 dates of events that I could find and knew, like the FFA convention, the Far West Nursery Show, things like that were industry kind of events, the ODFA convention, things like that. And then on the back of the page are the locations of where we've met back to 2014. So to give you an idea of the areas of the state that we have met in and where we might want to revisit or pick a location that we haven't been to for a while. So it's all up to you with what dates work for the team.
Barbara Boyer, I like the idea of maybe having a board meeting during the FFA convention. And that's always in Redmond. And that would be the March 28th, 30th, right? Isn't that normally when it is?
16th through the 19th.
16th through the 19th, it's the
Oh, I'm
week.
sorry, I didn't see down below.
Yeah, it's
It
the
was
week
normally,
before.
It was always around my birthday, so they changed it. Okay.
Yeah, so is there a conflict for ODA?
So
Okay.
not next, I would not recommend next year's board. That meeting has to be in Salem. You're going to have a new director,
Oh,
a
sorry.
new legislator, a new governor. Our budget will just be coming out. And so if you want to do that, do it in a short session year,
Okay.
not a long. So
We should
in 24.
For sure. Okay.
Yep.
That'd
Thank
be,
you.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So I would say that first one is Salem based.
Yeah. And even though I will need to be remote for the first two dates, those are dates I could, but I cannot do because of another board conflict, March 28th through the 30th, if we're starting to go through and name some names and times. The 17th through the 19th or the 14th through the 16th, but I'd have to be virtual, but.
Yeah, the February dates kind of work the best for me there.
Does the February dates, do those not work for anyone?
I would be virtual.
It's okay.
From Mexico.
Never mind, I'm going to be virtual too.
I don't know about Chad, those February dates and Dean Semenich.
So that's January 17th through the 19th and February 14th through the 16th.
February dates.
Only the 14th, I'm sorry. February 14th through the 16th, which is
Looks to
Valentine's
work
Day.
for me. Looks like it works for me.
Yeah, those days will be, I think, it's hard for me to predict all the time, but it's fine.
Go for it. Yeah, okay. Dates, Salem.
And Director, you're also saying Salem area for the second, because the legislature is still in session for that second round.
I want Lauren's perspective. Can you come up? If they moved, if they did a mid-June, could they travel, Lauren? We'll be past budget. I think you could do a outside of Salem mid-June meeting.
Yeah, Lauren Henderson, Deputy Director. I think that would work. I would just advise you try to stick within a couple hour radius, maybe.
Okay. Since we haven't been to Southern Oregon in a while, and June is cooler than August, you know, I'd be willing to help coordinate either we could do it in Douglas County, or I could probably help further south, but less helpful if it was Medford or Grants Pass. But at least June would be a couple hours away if it was in Roseburg area.
If you wanted to do Medford, Harry and David has offered several times, meeting facilities, we could check on that as well.
That is one of the areas that I'd like to get to for sure is Southern Oregon. Yeah.
In June?
Yeah, in June. So yeah, I can probably coordinate with Harry and David to some degree, but I'm not there. But, you know, again, I think Douglas County would be happy to invite the board there. Ford Family Foundation, who actually is doing more things in agriculture, would be a place where I would host the meeting. It's a free place to have meetings and good catering and all that kind of stuff. But Harry and David would be great. So, yeah.
If I could ask, what were the dates in June?
13th to 15th, but I thought I heard you say you wanted within 2 hours of Salem.
That works.
Okay.
Just in case one of us needs to get back, it's easy to get.
So would Medford is not,
No,
it'd be
that's
3.5?
fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
It's just jumping on the freeway and getting here. That's fairly simple.
Okay.
I think those dates are almost perfect because if it's early in June, they're still trying to figure out our budget. We don't want to be gone the last of June because there's a lot of last minute things that happen. So I think those dates, we can work with that.
So did I hear June 13 through 15 in Medford?
Southern Oregon.
Southern
Oregon. Maybe not all the way.
We can talk and see what's, yeah, because we've got, the Namases would also be very happy to, well, they're Harry and David, they'd be happy to help down south too, from a wine standpoint piece too, and there's other wineries down there that we could tap into if we want to, so.
The date for the first meeting?
14th through the 16th, yeah.
That one will be in Salem.
All the July through September dates work for me.
Well, I would say if you're meeting in June, you don't want to
Right,
probably
meet
meet
July.
in July.
Yeah,
Right.
so September.
Did I look at
maybe.
September?
Everyone,
Yeah.
how does that September date look?
Good.
Chad, Stacy?
It would just it would push the next meetings to probably December. And I
Yeah.
get, those might work.
And I
might
can't,
have to
I
be
can't do
virtual.
December
I
at
can't,
all,
Yeah.
even virtual.
You could do September, November. They're a little close, but that's doable.
Yeah.
Have a
And
board
We
meeting.
can find a different week, you know, if there's
Just throwing them
these
out
were
there.
just suggested dates. So if you want to do late November, early December, we absolutely can adjust that. This was just a starting point to start looking at dates.
Director Taylor, NASDA, is it usually always in September?
Sometimes in August.
That's what I thought. So we'll just pick the date and figure it out. Okay.
Here, are you saying that it could be okay for the Department of Ag at different time in December? I just can't, I have a board meeting that I can't miss. That 12th through the 14th, Fall Creek.
What if we did November 28th, 29th, 30th? That's the week before, right?
I could be virtual. I'll be in Mexico. Sorry.
Isn't Oregon Cattlemen somewhere right in that 14th of November? Isn't somewhere right there?
Yeah, I can't do that week at all in November.
The one listed or?
The other one listed, I can't. LCDC meeting that week.
So if you did the September dates listed here, you could do the November 28, 29, 30. Look at that,
That's what I think.
if that works.
29,
Or two.
31.
No, 28, 29, 30. November.
28 is a Monday.
No, it's a Tuesday.
Gotta look at 23, not 22.
Sorry.
So it'd be November 28th, 29th, 30th.
Yep.
Okay. I will, in fact, I might be able to.
Chad and
Change my-
Stacy, just checking in if those make sense and work on your end. I know this is over a year out, but roughly.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay. We have to go with it.
Talking about November dates or September dates?
Okay, so we were talking about September 12th to the 14th and then November 28, 29, 30, and this is 2023.
Yeah, I should be able to work around it. May have to be virtual, but
Oh, shoot, guys, I'm sorry. I do have a board meeting 28th through the 30th, and I am actually wrong for, yeah, I do. So, I just may have to miss it. Yeah.
And so what, you said December, no, Randy?
Yeah, the December wouldn't work for me.
Well, what if we went like December,
Month of December is pretty much out for me.
I just suggest, do we back up? It's February 14th to 16th. Do we back up the Medford meeting? May? And then you can do August.
So the agency's not going to be able to go to support a meeting in Medford in
No.
May because
Well,
of the
maybe we
legislative
put
session.
Medford in events hot. We do Medford in
Could do that.
August. And do the
coast, we can do the coast.
or
Yep.
Salem again. So the suggestion I would have would be May 16th through 18th in
The coast.
coast or close, 2 hours, like you were suggesting, and then we could do Southern Oregon, August 15th through the 17th.
So May, the 2 hours was June because I thought we would be through. If it's going to be in May, it's got to probably be really close to Salem. Kaiser might be the farthest we could go.
Okay.
Do Oregon Gardens.
Yeah.
Or that would be okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
we could do
it's a
that.
great spot for a meeting.
So check it. So we're, okay.
Let's go back. I'm
Go
sorry,
back.
I'm messing up.
We're
Sorry.
keeping the February dates. Now we're checking on the May 16th to the 18th.
And that would be Salem area.
Yeah. Chad, Stacy.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Then it would be August 15th through the 17th.
I'm sorry, the chair, the incoming chair, does that
Can't do
date,
it.
May date not work for you?
Is it not? Oh, I didn't hear
I
that.
have, the Wednesday, the third Wednesday of every month at another meeting, like yesterday, I submitted with a grant.
Mhm.
So it's just the conflict that day.
Mm.
And I'm gonna miss the February one, so I think I need to attend one at least, there's other meetings, so.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm wondering, do we just keep the June date? Because that seems to be best maybe for ODA staff as well.
Okay.
Keep the June worked? Yeah, keep the June.
Okay.
Did I hear you saying we're not going to be here for the February meeting?
No, I will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think I have a meeting on the 15th.
Yes.
You don't miss another one, is what you're saying. Gotcha. Okay, okay, okay.
So
Louisa.
just for everyone, we're back to the June date.
In date, okay.
In
Sorry
Salem.
about that, I derailed us there, so. And then if it's June date, then you're saying you would want September versus August? Or could we do August? 15th through the 17th?
You could do August,
Okay.
if that's better for the board.
I kind of like August better.
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
understand we're also working around right,
Yeah.
harvest.
Harvest.
We're ramping
For a
up for
lot of-
filberts and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if it's September, I'm definitely not gonna make it.
Do we want to do August in Tillamook?
I think that's a great idea.
Yes.
We were talking Southern Oregon, but.
Well, I thought we were talking if we're back to June, Southern Oregon.
Oh,
in
Southern
June.
Oregon.
Yep, so
Okay.
So Salem in February, Southern Oregon in June, Tillamook. Chad, how do you feel about that in August?
I think that's great.
Great. And then we still have to decide the Q4.
So for meeting in August, somebody had a conflict November 14th through the 17th? Or no?
So I thought that was you.
Those dates work the best for me in November.
No, that was open for me.
I think it was
The 14th
Barb.
and 17th?
Barbara.
Everybody's going to, everybody's going to Mexico, so I can't remember who went.
Yeah,
We would be, where would we be going?
it was that 28th.
We haven't decided yet.
That's the
Okay.
One that was problem.
Oftentimes
Yeah,
that
okay,
one
that's right.
is in the Portland, kind of Willamette
Yeah.
Valley area.
I was going to say not traveling too far for everybody.
I mean, I can make 14, 15, but I can't do 16. I'll just miss the last day.
It's fine.
Okay.
And we'll pick somewhere in the valley, Willamette Valley.
Valley, okay.
Make it to Eugene, to your area. I don't think we've been, Brian, to your area in a while.
Yeah, we haven't been to Eugene in a long time. It's not
Yeah.
even on the list anymore. Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
Since you're, I mean, while you're still on the board and we can kind of,
yeah.
So I have 2 years.
Okay, good.
Yeah, like October
Yeah.
24. So, yeah.
And
Cool.
November is a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
I mean,
done with
wet
harvest
and
and-
cold and. Yeah, but
August
yeah.
15th is the 17th.
So can we do a summary again, just to make sure we?
So what I have written down is February 14 through 16 in Salem, June 13 through 15 in Southern Oregon, August 15 through 17 in Tillamook, and November 14 to 16 in Eugene area.
works for me.
That works for me.
We did it.
Yay.
I really appreciate doing it ahead of time. It really is very helpful.
Yes, it does, and it's locked, and you can negotiate around with other people. Yeah, and to the extent we want to look at FFA in 2024, that we can get those FFA dates and figure out timing, and it'll definitely still be in Redmond, so.
Goodness. It's the end of the agenda. Holy smokes. All right. Is anything else?
Barbara Boyer, yes. Chair Harper, this is your last meeting chairing, so thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Director Taylor's probably the last time I get to call you that in a public meeting. But thanks for your leadership. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you to both of you.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I can tell the story. So as Director Taylor's name was surfaced for Undersecretary, the amount of emails I received from people across the U.S., not saying, hey, do you know her? But we know her and we love her, and from both sides of the aisle. So it was very cool, which prompted our organization to immediately do a press release, and because our board was very supportive too. So anyway, I know it's not done yet, but it's great. I have a familiarity with the work that you're going to be doing, and there could be a better person. So thank you.
Well, as I said yesterday, just thank you to the board. I feel very privileged to have known all of you, to get to know you, not just professionally, but personally. I'm very proud of, obviously, ODA and the team we have built and the work that we do. We've gotten to see a different part of that work here in Ontario. But we have phenomenal people. And we had a job interview. We were interviewing someone the other day and they asked, what's the best part of working at ODA? And it was easily, for me, the answer is always the people. The people we work with, the people who work at ODA, and I feel very proud to have spent a little bit of my career there. And I am just really thankful to all of you for your leadership and your willingness to serve and continue to serve in many different capacities. But on this board, you're really important to the industry in Oregon, but also the department and the work that they do. So thank you for letting me be a small part of that over the past 5.5 years.
All right, with that, I guess any other questions, comments? Chad or Dean Simonich?
Nope, I'm good.
No, I'll just say, I wasn't there this time because I'll be in Ontario next week for the Onion Field Days that were discussed earlier in the meeting. So I don't know if any of you will be around for that, but I might see you there. Thank you.
Chair Harper, I believe you're taking Isaac home. Don't let him touch any buttons.
You got it. Yes, strap him down. Well, all right. Thank you, everyone. Another good meeting. With that, meeting is adjourned.